He's purple. He's a ray gun. He's Shockwave. Ah, careful with that thing. Hey everybody, this is Chris and welcome to another episode of my Transformers collection. And today we're taking a look at the one, the only, the giant purple ray gun from Cybertron, Shockwave. I no longer have his original box or anything, but here is a picture of the box that Shockwave originally came in. This was scanned in from my website back in the 90s when I was collecting sealed pieces and mint in box pieces, and this was my mint in box Shockwave that I had way back in the old days. I ended up selling him and picking up this Shockwave from a friend of mine who was selling his collection. What would you get with a Generation 1 Shockwave? Well, basically the instructions, sticker sheet, all the pamphlets and stuff. But as far as accessories are concerned, you get this little plastic piece that goes on to the end of the cannon. As you can see, I actually have him mistransformed. I have his feet sticking out so that way I can stand him up. This is mentioned in the manual, so we'll call him a multi-changer or something like that. But anyway, Shockwave has become kind of a cult favorite among Transformers fans and collectors, and I think it's for a lot of different reasons. In the cartoon, he was kind of cool. You know, he was sort of the overseer of Cybertron, and the voice work by Corey Burton is iconic in my opinion. But really, he wasn't in the show a lot. I mean, he mostly was just a loyal subject to Megatron. I mean, he tried to contact Megatron for 4 million years when Megatron disappeared. So, I mean, if that's not loyalty, I don't know what is. But I think where he shined for a lot of collectors was in the Marvel comic book. If you look at his tech spec, his motto is clarity of thought before rashness of action, and his function is Military Operations Commander. If you read a little bit more, you'll see that it actually says he seeks to overthrow Megatron, which is completely opposite. I mean, he literally defeated Megatron in an early issue of the comic and took over the Decepticons almost right away, and that's when the Marvel comic really took a left turn from where the cartoon series was going, and I used to read the Marvel comic quite a lot. You can see a lot of little nice detail on the plastic on the side here, and obviously he is known for having that hose coming up and around, and the good news is this hose is not flaking or cracked or anything like that. Oftentimes these are just like completely rotted away, and this one has remained in quite nice shape. In our hands, you got a trigger right here, and he sits really, really solid. And if you want to scope out an enemy, you can look through the scope. Next to the hose here is actually the battery cover. If we remove that, you'll see that it actually takes a 9-volt battery. And the reason why it takes a battery is because of this. Yep, Shockwave is full of lights and sound. You can see it actually shoots out of his gun arm. This particular one is still bright. It still sounds really, really loud. It's such an 80s sound too, you know? And the fact that this is almost a 30-year-old figure and it still works is awesome. There's a button here on the back. You can change the sound. I'm not too sure about that one. And it also changes the lights. And here we have Shockwave in his robot mode. He has such a great design, just all the way around. Now, what's interesting about this particular mold is that it is not a Takara Diaclone microchange mold, which a lot of these figures came from initially. They licensed a bunch of figures from other companies, and this one actually came from a company called Toyco. If you look, engraved on his leg, on the inside of his leg, is the word Toyco. You can see it right in here. And so there's proof right there. So this is not a Takara design. This is a completely different character, hence why he just looks a little bit different, you know? In fact, there were other versions of this mold used. The most famous one, I think, other than Shockwave himself, is the one that Radio Shack had. It was gray. We all affectionately call it Shockwave. But he was gray. I remember seeing that one when I was a kid because I thought to myself, wait, is that Shockwave? Now, if we take a quick look at his upper body, you'll notice that the trigger is right here. And yes, it does work in robot mode. In fact, you can point that at someone and boom, see ya. And you can switch the button back here if you want and change it as well. Also, you know Shockwave has this hose that connects from the back of his backpack into his arm. The toy has it sort of up here wrapped around, and you can see that's the way it should be because of how the gun is positioned and the artwork that is engraved kind of on the side of his arm. But if you want a more show accurate look, you actually can spin this around, which will kind of be funky here, but you can spin this around and put the hose underneath. If you know a lot of other Shockwaves, you know that they tend to be underslung like that. In fact, if we take a quick look here, here is Transformers Prime Beast Hunter Shockwave side by side, and you'll see that the hose that actually is the tank tread connected to the back is underslung. So that's kind of the way that we often see him. And of course, what would Shockwave be without that iconic cycloptic eye? Now, if you're in the market for a Shockwave today, be careful because there is a really good knockoff out there that is crazy close to the original. It has silver screws and some very specific differences, but they're really hard to spot. Plus, Shockwaves just tend to be broken. He was kind of a fragile figure. His legs a lot of times don't lock into place, and there are pieces missing, so just make sure you be careful if you want to get your own Shockwave. And there you have it. There's a quick look at Generation 1 Shockwave. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Chris, rolling out.